didn't confront her. I didn't yell. I found the hidden cameras wired behind our bedroom outlets. My wife had been selling footage of us for $3,200 a month. I sat at my kitchen table that Tuesday morning, staring at the electric bill like it had personally insulted me. $347 for September. I pulled out my calculator, old habits, and ran the numbers again. $40 higher than August, $60 more than last September. "Morning, honey." Lisa kissed the top of my head as she rushed past, already dressed for her shift at Dr. Patterson's office. "You're up early." "Bill came yesterday." I held up the yellow paper. "Something's not adding up." She glanced over while buttering Emma's toast. "Maybe the AC ran more? It was hot in September." "Checked that. Same usage as last year." I sipped my coffee, gone cold while I'd been calculating. "There's a phantom draw somewhere. About 200 watts. Emma, grab your violin case," Lisa called upstairs, then looked back at me with that patient smile she used when I got obsessed with electrical problems. "I'm sure you'll figure it out. You always do." The kids thundered downstairs, Emma with her violin, Tyler clutching his Nintendo, Sophie dragging her stuffed elephant. Normal Tuesday morning chaos. Lisa handed out lunchboxes with military precision, checked backpacks, reminded Emma about her lesson after school. But I kept staring at those numbers. 20 years as an electrician, and phantom draws still bothered me like a splinter under my fingernail. 200 watts doesn't just disappear. Something was running in my house that I didn't know about. That evening, I spread 6 months of electric bills across my basement workbench. The phantom draw started in April. Clean as you please. Exactly 200 watts every month since. My Fluke multimeter sat ready beside the papers, its familiar weight promising answers. The basement smelled like home, sawdust from weekend projects, that sharp ozone scent of electrical components, coffee stains on my workbench from late-night troubleshooting. Above me, Lisa was getting the kids ready for bed, her voice carrying through the floor joists. "Dad's in his cave again," I heard Tyler say. "Let him work," Lisa replied. "You know how he gets with his puzzles." I traced the consumption spike with my finger. Professional curiosity had become personal obsession. In 20 years, I'd never seen a phantom draw this consistent. Usually, it's a failing appliance cycling on and off, or a short somewhere bleeding power. But this was steady as a heartbeat. 200 watts, enough to run a decent computer, or several small devices. Wednesday morning, I started at the main panel. Each breaker got tested systematically. Kitchen outlets, living room lights, HVAC system. My digital clamp meter read normal loads on every circuit I could identify. The house woke up around me. Emma practicing violin upstairs, Tyler's video game sounds echoing from the living room, Sophie's cartoons from the kitchen TV. Normal morning soundtrack of family life. "Still playing detective?" Lisa asked, kissing my cheek before heading to work. "Something's drawing power," I said, not looking up from my meter. 200 watts I can't account for. Maybe it's the new microwave? Tested that. Only draws power when it's running. I made another note in my pad. This is constant. 24/7. She squeezed my shoulder. "I'm sure it's nothing serious." "See you tonight." After she left, I kept testing. Every visible outlet, every light fixture, every appliance. My notebook filled with measurements, all perfectly normal. The dishwasher drew 1,800 watts when running. The refrigerator cycled between 150 and 0. The furnace blower pulled 600 watts when heating kicked in. But somewhere in my walls, 200 watts flowed to something I couldn't find. By Thursday afternoon, I was getting frustrated. I tested everything twice, even pulled the covers off outlets to check for loose connections that might be bleeding power. Nothing. In the garage, I dug out the original house plans from 2011. Derek had done the electrical work when we built Williams Electrical Solutions. Solid company, good reputation. Derek was Lisa's brother-in-law, but he was also a licensed contractor who knew his business. The plans showed clean runs, proper circuits, everything up to code. Kitchen on its own 20-amp circuit, living room and dining room sharing another, bedroom split between two more circuits. Standard residential layout, nothing fancy. But the phantom draw persisted like a ghost in my system. Friday evening in my workshop, I hooked up my oscilloscope to dig deeper. That's when I found something that made my blood run cold. 3 wire runs that didn't appear on any schematic. I traced the signals with my probe, following clean 12-volt DC lines through the basement ceiling. Professional installation, proper gauge wire, neat cable management, everything done right. But they weren't connected to anything I could see. Above me, the family settled into weekend routines. Lisa helping Emma with math homework, Tyler and Sophie arguing over TV channels. The sounds felt distant now, like I was hearing them through water. These mystery circuits had been installed by someone who knew exactly what they were doing. Someone with access to my house during construction. Someone I'd trusted. Saturday morning brought the breakthrough that changed everything. Following the hidden circuits with my tone generator, I traced one line directly behind our bedroom wall. The signal was strongest near our bed, where Lisa and I had shared 13 years of marriage. My probe indicated active current draw. 12 watts, steady as clockwork. "Mark?" Lisa called from downstairs. "I'm heading to the grocery store. Need anything?" I stared at the wall, my hands shaking slightly. 12 watts was enough to power a small camera. Maybe 2, if they were efficient models. "Mark?" "I'm good," I called back, my voice sounding strange in my own ears. The front door closed. Lisa's car started in the driveway. I was alone with the discovery that someone had been watching us in our most private moments. I pressed my ear to the wall, listening. Nothing but the house settling, the furnace cycling on, normal sounds of home. But normal had just become a lie. I pulled my stethoscope from the toolbox, the same one I used for finding electrical hums in walls. Pressed it against the drywall behind Tyler's desk where he did homework every night. The electronic signature was unmistakable. 12 watts, steady draw, active circuit. My son's bedroom. Someone had been watching my 9-year-old son. I slumped against the wall, the stethoscope hanging loose in my hand. Downstairs, Sunday morning cartoons played, SpongeBob's laugh echoing through the house like everything was normal. Sophie giggled at something. Coffee brewing in the kitchen, Lisa probably making her famous pancakes. But normal was dead now. I traced the 3rd circuit to Emma's room. Same result. 12 watts behind her bed where she kept her diary, where she changed clothes, where she talked to friends on video calls thinking she had privacy. My 12-year-old daughter. The 4th circuit led to Sophie's room. 6 years old. Still believed in monsters under the bed, not knowing the real monster was in the walls. By Sunday afternoon, I'd mapped 8 circuits total. Master bedroom, all 3 kids' rooms, main bathroom, kitchen, living room. Even my basement workshop, my sanctuary, the one place I thought was mine alone. Each circuit, exactly 12 watts. Too perfect, too professional. This wasn't some amateur pervert with a hidden camera. This was a system. I sat at my workbench, sketching the circuit map on graph paper. 8 points of surveillance covering every inch of our lives. Kitchen conversations about money troubles, bathroom routines, bedtime stories, arguments Lisa and I thought were private. "Mark," Lisa's voice from the top of the stairs. "I made you a sandwich." I shoved the schematic under some invoices. "Thanks. Be up in a minute." Her footsteps on the wooden stairs, careful like always. She appeared with a turkey sandwich on white bread, cut diagonally the way I liked. Concerned eyes studying my face. "You've been down here all weekend," she said softly. "Even missed church this morning. That's not like you." I couldn't meet her eyes. afraid of what I might see there. Guilt? Knowledge? Or just the same loving concern she'd shown for 13 years? Electrical problem, I said, taking the sandwich. Phantom draw. Can't figure where it's coming from. Maybe it's not important? I mean, if everything's working. Everything's not working, Lisa. Something's pulling power it shouldn't be. That's a fire hazard. She nodded, but I caught something in her expression. Relief? Like she wanted me to drop it. Don't stay down here too late, she said, kissing my forehead. The kids miss their dad. After she left, I stared at the hidden schematic. 8 surveillance points. Professional installation. Someone with access during construction. Someone who knew our house better than we did. Monday evening, I found the 9th circuit. This one was different. 65 watts instead of 12. Following the signal with my tone generator led me behind the furnace to a section of basement ceiling I'd never paid attention to. Acoustic tiles that looked original but felt newer when I touched them. Above me, the family settled into Monday night routines. Homework at the kitchen table. Lisa helping Tyler with fractions. Sophie coloring in her Disney book. Normal sounds of home that felt like lies now. I pulled down the first tile. The space above was supposed to be empty, just dead air between basement ceiling and first floor. Instead, I found a hidden room, properly ventilated, temperature controlled, filled with electronic equipment humming quietly in the darkness. A Synology NAS server. Professional grade, not some consumer garbage. Multiple hard drives, LED status lights blinking like Christmas decorations. Ethernet cables snaking through the ceiling like digital veins, connecting to devices I couldn't see but now understood were there. The server's display showed terabytes of storage, years of accumulated data. My hands shook as I took photos with my phone. The installation was perfect. Clean cable management, proper grounding, backup power supplies. Whoever did this knew their business. This wasn't installed by some creep with a spy camera from Amazon. This was professional surveillance equipment, hidden in my own house, recording my family for years. I replaced the tiles carefully, making sure everything looked untouched. Climbed back down to my workbench on unsteady legs. The violation felt complete now. Total. My family had been living in a fishbowl, performing for an audience we didn't know existed. Tuesday morning, 5 a.m. I sat in my workshop before the house woke up, staring at the photos on my phone. The evidence was undeniable, but questions burned in my chest like acid. Who installed this system? Who had access to years of our most private moments? Who was watching my children grow up, recording their innocence? The 200-watt phantom draw wasn't just about electricity anymore. Someone had been stealing our lives, one recorded moment at a time. Above me, the house began its morning routine. Lisa's alarm clock, shower running, coffee maker gurgling to life. Sophie's feet hitting the floor, running to our bedroom for morning snuggles. All of it recorded. All of it stored on that server, waiting for... What? I thought about the wire routing, the professional installation, the timing. This surveillance system had been installed during construction in 2011, when the walls were open and access was easy. Derek's work. Derek's signature style in every junction box, every cable run. My brother-in-law had built this violation into the foundation of our home, not recently, from the very beginning. 13 years of betrayal, hidden behind drywall and family dinners. The phantom draw was coming from circuits I'd never authorized, installed by someone I'd trusted, watching everything I'd sworn to protect. The voltage tester's angry beep cut through the morning silence. I pressed it against Sophie's bedroom wall, just behind her toy chest. 120 volts, live and waiting. My 6-year-old daughter slept 10 feet away. I backed out of her room, legs unsteady. 3 bedrooms, 3 hidden circuits. The pattern was surgical, each wire positioned where a camera would have perfect sight lines. Professional work. Derek's work. The hallway stretched longer than it should have. 13 years I'd walked these floors, thinking I knew every wire, every outlet, every switch. The house felt foreign now, like walking through someone else's blueprint. I found Lisa in the kitchen, already dressed for work, coffee mug in hand, checking her phone. "You're up early," she said, not looking at me. "Found more circuits." I set the voltage tester on the counter. "In the kids' rooms." Her thumb stopped scrolling, just for a second. "What kind of circuits?" "The kind that don't belong there." I pulled out my notebook, flipped to the diagram I'd sketched. "Look at this pattern. Bedroom walls, optimal angles, minimal power draw. This isn't random wiring, Lisa." She glanced at the paper, then back to her phone. "Maybe Derek was thinking ahead. You know, for when the kids got older. Computer outlets, phone chargers. Behind toy chests, inside walls with no access panels." My voice stayed level, but barely. "This is surveillance-grade installation." The coffee mug hit the counter harder than necessary. "Surveillance? Mark, you're scaring me. Why would anyone want to?" "That's what I'm trying to figure out." Lisa's phone buzzed, a text message. She read it quickly, typed back. Her fingers moved too fast, like she was nervous. "Who's texting you at 7 in the morning?" "Work." She slipped the phone into her purse. "Crisis with the Henderson account. I need to get in early." She kissed my cheek, but it felt mechanical, routine without warmth. "We'll figure this out," she said. "Maybe call Derek? He could explain what he was thinking." The front door closed behind her. I stood in the empty kitchen, staring at my notebook. Call Derek. Right. Ask my brother-in-law why he'd wired my house for hidden cameras. My phone rang. Unknown number. Mark Edwards. "Mr. Edwards? This is Tom Bradley, City Electrical Inspector. Got a minute?" I knew Tom from permit inspections over the years. Solid guy, thorough. "Sure, Tom, what's up?" "Funny thing, I'm reviewing old permits for a database update, and your address popped up with some irregularities. The final inspection report from 2011 doesn't match the approved panel schedule." My grip tightened on the phone. "What kind of irregularities?" "Well, Derek Williams pulled permit EL-2011-4472 for 24 circuits, but the inspection notes show 28 breakers installed. I signed off on it, but looking back..." He paused. "The extra circuits weren't documented. Should have caught that." "Tom, those extra circuits are live. They're drawing power right now." "That's a code violation, Mark. Undocumented electrical work in a residential structure. If there's been any modification since final inspection, we need to know about it." I walked to the basement stairs, phone pressed to my ear. What if the work was done during original construction, hidden behind finished walls? Then we've got a bigger problem. Concealed electrical work without permits. That's serious stuff. Could be safety issues, insurance problems. You want me to come take a look? Yeah, I do. I can be there this afternoon. 2 o'clock work? I'll be here. I hung up and descended into the basement. The hidden conduit mocked me from the ceiling, professional and precise. 12-gauge wire, properly secured, junction boxes every 8 feet. Derek had followed code perfectly, except for the part where he documented none of it. My multimeter confirmed 120 volts on each phantom circuit. Steady draw, consistent load. Whatever these wires fed, they'd been running for years. Since 2011, since we moved in, since Derek had access to everything. I thought about Lisa's reaction upstairs, the way she deflected, suggested calling Derek, like she wanted me to talk to him directly, give him warning. My phone buzzed. Text from Lisa. Forgot to mention, Derek's coming by tonight to fix the garage door opener, around 7. I stared at the message. We hadn't discussed the garage door. It worked fine yesterday. But Derek was coming. Tonight, right after I discovered his hidden electrical work. I sat down on my workbench, surrounded by tools and evidence. 13 years of marriage, and I was starting to wonder if I knew my wife at all. The basement felt colder suddenly, like someone had opened a window that didn't exist. I climbed back upstairs, my mind racing faster than the current through those hidden wires. Lisa was in the kitchen, stirring something on the stove that smelled like burned onions. "How's the investigation going?" she asked without turning around. "Found something interesting." I pulled out my voltage tester, watching her shoulders tense. "There's live power behind Sophie's toy chest. No outlet, no switch, just electricity running through the wall." The wooden spoon clattered against the pot rim. She spun around, face draining of color. That's impossible. Why would there be power there?" I studied her expression, the wide eyes, the genuine shock. Either my wife didn't know about the cameras, or she'd missed her calling as an actress. "Could be dangerous," I said, testing. "Whatever's back there, it's drawing steady power. Been running for years." Lisa's hand went to her throat. "Years? But Sophie's room. She sleeps in there every night. Mark, what if there's a fire hazard?" The fear in her voice seemed real, too real to fake. I felt a flicker of doubt about my suspicions. "I'm checking every room," I said, "making sure our kids are safe." "Good." "Yes, check everything." She turned back to the stove, movements jerky. "Derek always said he future-proofed the house. Maybe he installed, I don't know, smart home stuff? Sensors?" Derek again. Always Derek. When did he mention that? "Oh, you know, over the years. He's always talking about new technology." Lisa's laugh sounded forced. "Says we'll thank him someday when everything's automated." I watched her stir the pot with unnecessary vigor. Her hand trembled slightly, making tiny ripples in whatever she was cooking. "I'll ask him tonight," I said, "when he comes to fix the garage door." "Right, the garage door." She nodded too quickly. "It's been making that noise." "What noise?" "The garage door worked perfectly yesterday." But I kept my mouth shut and headed back downstairs. In my workshop, I started mapping the phantom circuits more carefully. The 12-gauge wire wasn't just running to random locations. It followed a deliberate pattern. Each run terminated at a specific point: master bedroom, kids' rooms, main bathroom, kitchen. Then I saw something I'd missed before. Running parallel to the power circuits, almost invisible against the basement ceiling, was an Ethernet cable. Professional-grade Cat6, the kind used for high-speed data networks. I followed it with my flashlight, crawling between floor joists. The cable snaked through the same path as the electrical, but it wasn't connected to our home router upstairs. Instead, it terminated in a junction box I'd never noticed, mounted behind my tool cabinet. I moved the cabinet aside, metal scraping against concrete. The junction box was newer than the others, installed with the same precision, but clearly added later. Inside, a small network switch blinked with green LED lights. 8 lights, 8 active connections, 8 cameras. My hand started shaking. This wasn't just hidden wiring, it was a complete surveillance network. Professional installation, redundant systems, everything planned and executed during construction, when the walls were open and access was unlimited. I traced the Ethernet backbone to its source, following cables up into the ceiling space above my workshop. Behind a section of drywall that looked identical to the rest, I found a hidden access panel. Inside was a room I'd never known existed. Professional cable management ran along the walls like electronic arteries. 2 redundant power supplies hummed quietly. Sound-dampening foam covered every surface, and in the center, a Synology NAS server unit blinked with hard drive activity. The display screen showed a number that made my stomach drop: 847 video files. I sat down hard on the concrete floor. 847 recordings of my family, years of footage, all cataloged and stored like inventory in a warehouse. The server's interface was password protected, but Derek had made one mistake. He'd used the same default login that came with the unit, admin/password. The first folder was labeled Master Bedroom, 2021 to 2024. I clicked on the oldest file, August 15th, 2021. The video opened with a clear view of our bedroom from an angle I'd never seen, high up, near the ceiling, looking down at the bed. Lisa appeared on screen, alone, pacing back and forth. She was talking to someone off camera, her voice clear through hidden microphones. "The monthly payment cleared," she said. "We're making good money from this. Better than my old job." A man's voice responded just out of frame. Derek's voice. "Told you it would work. Premium content, steady customers. They pay extra for the family angle." I slammed the laptop shut. The concrete floor felt like it was tilting beneath me. My wife knew. She'd known all along. I forced myself to open the laptop again, scrolling through months of files, each one a violation. Bedroom footage, bathroom recordings, my children's most private moments, all cataloged with clinical precision. The file names included pricing codes and customer references. This wasn't just surveillance, it was a business. A folder labeled Financial Records contained bank statements for an account I'd never seen. Wells Fargo number 4472-8851-9903. Deposits totaling $89,200 over 3 years. Regular payments from something called PrivateHomeCams.net. My family's privacy, sold online month after month like a subscription service. I printed everything. Bank statements, video timestamps, file directories. Each piece of evidence cross-referenced and documented with the same precision I used for electrical schematics. The pattern emerged clearly. Derek had installed the infrastructure in 2011, but the active surveillance began in April 2021, right after Lisa lost her part-time job at the dental office. The cameras weren't just Derek's idea. Lisa had been actively participating, managing the online sales, collecting payments. I stared at the evidence spread across my workbench, bank statements, timestamps, surveillance logs. 13 years of marriage, and my wife had been selling our most intimate moments to strangers for nearly 4 years. The basement felt colder than ever, like the foundation itself had shifted beneath everything I thought I knew. I sat in my workshop at 8:15 p.m., the concrete floor cold beneath my boots. The evidence was spread across my workbench like circuit diagrams, bank statements, electrical schematics, timestamps from the surveillance logs. Everything organized in manila folders, each one labeled with my careful handwriting. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting harsh shadows across the documentation. My multimeter sat beside the papers, its digital display dark. I'd used it to trace every wire, every hidden junction. The readings didn't lie. They never did. The garage door rumbled open upstairs. Lisa's heels clicked across the kitchen linoleum, then stopped. I heard Derek's voice, low, urgent. They were both here. Perfect timing. I reached for the monitor I'd installed yesterday, hidden behind my tool cabinet. The screen flickered to life, showing 8 windows of live footage. Our bedroom, the kids' rooms, every violation displayed in real time, streaming from cameras that had been watching us for years. My hands trembled as I adjusted the brightness. The basement felt smaller now, walls pressing in. This was it, the moment when everything changed. No going back after tonight. "Mark, you down there?" Lisa's voice drifted down the stairs, sweet and innocent as always. "Derek stopped by to check that outlet in the kitchen." I didn't answer immediately. Let them wonder. I could hear their whispered conversation upstairs, worried tones, urgent planning. They knew something was wrong. The workshop's single bulb cast my shadow long across the concrete. "Yeah, I'm here," I called back, standing from my chair. The metal legs scraped against the floor. "Both of you come down. I want to show you something about our electrical system." Their footsteps descended the wooden stairs. Lisa's quick and nervous. Derek's slower, more cautious. I positioned myself beside the workbench, the monitor's glow hidden behind my body. "What's all this?" Lisa gestured at the spread of documents, her voice carrying that practiced innocence. But I caught the slight tremor underneath. Derek hung back near the stairs, his electrician's eyes already scanning the workshop, looking for problems. The basement air felt thick. I picked up my multimeter, its familiar weight grounding me. "Phantom load investigation. Found some interesting results." Lisa's eyes darted to Derek, then back to me. "Phantom load?" 200 watts of continuous draw, I said, holding up the electrical schematic. My voice stayed steady, technical. No visible load matching the consumption, so I traced every circuit. I pointed to the diagram with my pen, each mark precise. Found 8 unauthorized taps hidden behind drywall, feeding devices that don't appear on any permit. Derek's face went pale. His contractor's knowledge made him understand immediately what I was describing. Lisa looked confused, but I saw the fear creeping into her green eyes. "Someone's been very creative with our electrical system," I continued, my tone flat as reading meter specifications. "I don't understand," Lisa said, but her voice wavered. The basement's silence amplified every breath, every small sound. I stepped aside, revealing the monitor. 8 live camera feeds displayed our most intimate spaces in perfect clarity. Our bedroom, Emma's room, Tyler's room, Sophie's room, the bathroom, kitchen, living room, my workshop. Lisa's face drained of color as she saw herself on screen, standing in our basement just moments ago. Derek took an involuntary step backward, his boots scraping against concrete. 3 years, 7 months of footage, I said quietly, my electrician's precision extending to my words. Stored on a Synology server hidden in the ceiling. Very professional installation. I gestured toward the monitor. Currently streaming to privatehomecams.net. Active subscriber base of 47 paying customers. The basement felt like a tomb now, concrete walls holding secrets that could never be buried again. "Mark, I can explain," Lisa started, but I held up my hand. "The electrical permit shows legitimate basement work in 2011, I continued, pulling out Derek's signed documentation. "Williams Electrical Solutions. Very thorough job. Hidden the camera wiring behind legitimate electrical runs. Code compliant on the surface. Clever work." Derek's jaw worked silently. Lisa's hands shook as she reached toward me. "Please, you don't understand the whole situation. Bank statements show $89,200 transferred to Wells Fargo account 4472-8851-9903. I set the papers on the workbench. "Monthly deposits averaging $2,400. Started August 2021, right after you lost the dental office job." Lisa's shoulders sagged. The pretense was cracking. "The cameras weren't just Derek's idea," I said, watching her face. "You've been managing the online sales, collecting payments, scheduling performances." The word hung in the basement air like electrical smoke. Derek finally spoke, his voice rough. "Mark, listen." "No." I picked up my voltage tester, clicking it on. The familiar beep steadied my nerves. "I've been listening for 13 years. Listening to lies about family loyalty, about trust, about protecting what we built together." I looked at the monitor again. Our children's bedrooms displayed in perfect clarity, cameras positioned for optimal viewing angles. "You turned our home into a business, our children into products." My voice stayed level, but something cold settled in my chest. The equipment doesn't lie. The numbers don't lie. The bank records don't lie. Lisa stepped forward, tears starting. The money helped with expenses, with Sophie's medical bills, with keeping this family together. Stop. I clicked off the voltage tester. Just stop. The basement fell silent except for the humming fluorescent lights overhead. The silence stretched between us like a live wire. Lisa's tears fell onto my workbench, darkening the wood grain where I'd measured 10,000 circuits over the years. 48 hours, I repeated, clicking my multimeter on and off. The digital display flickered. 0.00 volts. No current. No power between us anymore. Derek cleared his throat. Mark, the business side. We can shut it down. Delete everything. Make this right. I looked at him. Really looked. His hands were soft now, manicured. Nothing like the calloused grip that had helped me wire this basement 13 years ago. You think this is about money? Isn't it? Lisa's voice cracked. The house payments, Sophie's therapy, Emma's orthodontist bills. Stop. I set the multimeter down with deliberate care. You filmed our children sleeping. You sold footage of Emma getting dressed for school, Tyler brushing his teeth. Each word came out measured, like reading voltage from a meter. This was never about bills. Derek's face went pale. We had safeguards, age restrictions.
We never shut up. The words came out quieter than a whisper, but they hit like 240 volts.
Just shut up. I walked to the electrical panel, ran my fingers along the neat rows of breakers, each one labeled in my careful handwriting. Kitchen outlets, master bedroom, Sophie's room. All the circuits that had powered their violation of my family. The detective wants to see the server logs, I said, not turning around. Every download, every payment, every subscriber. I flipped the main breaker off, plunging the basement into darkness except for the emergency lighting. He's particularly interested in the timestamps. School hours, bath time, bedtime stories. In the dim glow, Lisa looked like a stranger. You're destroying everything we built. I flipped the main breaker back on. The fluorescent lights buzzed to life, harsh and unforgiving.
Morrison was very thorough.
Derek's knees buckled. He grabbed the workbench edge, knuckles going white. 7 years, I continued. 7 years of birthday parties and bedtime stories and soccer games. 7 years of loving a child who... I stopped, swallowed hard. Who deserves better than this? Lisa reached toward me. She loves you. You're the only father she's ever known. And you made sure I'd never be her real one. I closed the folder, slid it back into the toolbox. The custody arrangement reflects biological parentage. Emma and Tyler stay with me. Sophie goes with Derek. You can't just... Derek started. I can. I did. I picked up my wire strippers, tested the spring mechanism. Still perfect. Tools don't lie. Attorney Brennan filed the papers this morning. Derek Williams listed as biological father. Child support calculations attached. The basement felt smaller now, walls closing in. 3 people who used to be family, now just strangers in my workshop. The house? Lisa asked. Stays with me. Mortgage is in my name. Down payment came from my father's life insurance. I opened my toolbox, began organizing the screwdrivers by size. You have 48 hours to collect personal items. After that, locks get changed. Derek finally found his voice. Where will we go? I looked up from the toolbox. Not my problem anymore. Lisa's tears had stopped. Her face hardened, the mask slipping back into place. You think you're so righteous, so perfect, but you drove me to this, Mark. Your obsession with work, with your precious electrical codes. Never home, never present. Stop. I closed the toolbox with a sharp click.
Don't you dare make this about me. 13 years of marriage and you cared more about voltage readings than your wife's needs. I cared about keeping this family safe. My voice cracked for the first time. Every wire in this house, every outlet, every switch, installed to code because I thought I was protecting something worth protecting. The workshop went quiet except for the hum of the fluorescent lights. Get out, I said finally. Both of you. Get out of my house. They climbed the wooden stairs without looking back. I heard the garage door open, 2 car engines start, gravel crunching under tires. Then silence. I sat alone in my workshop, surrounded by the tools that had never betrayed me. The electrical panel hummed its steady song, honest current flowing through honest circuits. No phantom loads, no hidden draws. Tomorrow I'd start rewiring everything, every outlet, every switch, every connection. Tear out Derek's work and replace it with something clean, something true. I picked up my multimeter, checked the battery. Full charge, ready for whatever came next. The basement felt peaceful now. Just me and the electricity, flowing where it should, powering what it was meant to power. No secrets hiding in the walls. 13 years of marriage, reduced to 48 hours of packing. But the house would be honest again. Every wire installed by my own hands, every connection I could trust. That was worth something. Maybe everything.